Hi, and welcome to the Reading Sufficiency Act Annual District Reading Plan tutorial. This is being recorded to assist districts with filling out the annual district reading plan for the 2020-21 school year. My name is Melissa Algram. I am the Director for Reading Sufficiency. My contact information is on this slide for your reference, and we will also at the end of this webinar provide you with some other people at the State Department who would be able and happy to help you with any questions that you might have with this reading plan. So a couple of important things to be aware of as we get started. All districts and schools that serve kindergarten through third grade students must complete the annual district reading plan. Pre-K schools, if you are only pre-K, do not have to complete this plan, or schools that serve fourth grade and on up students do not. But if you have any of these 4 grade levels in your building, you do need to complete this plan. The reading plan must be completed and certified by August 30th in order to be eligible to receive the RSA allocation. The administrative rules for RSA were updated and recently approved by the governor. And in that update, there is a stipulation that the reading plan must be completed and certified by the due date, which is August 30th, as well as the beginning of year report completed and certified by that due date, which is October 1st, in order for a district to be eligible to receive RSA funding. This change was made in an effort to make sure that districts who have consistently been on time with their report are able to receive their funding in a timely manner. So it is important to understand user roles when it comes to the reading plan. There are 4 user roles, and these roles are assigned by the district superintendent or his or her designee. The district superintendent obviously is one role, as well as a district user, and those 2 roles can access the district plan and can get the plan process started. The site plan can be accessed by either a district user, a principal, or a school user. The school user is usually the principal's designee in order to fill out that plan. The district superintendent is the only one who can sign the assurance statement and certify the final reading plan for the district. And the principal is the only one who can confirm the site plan. So there are times where we might have an individual that has 2 different roles in order to be able to access different parts of the plan or be able to confirm. But without that confirmation from the principal, the site plan remains in limbo. All site plans must be confirmed before the district plan can be certified. And as we walk through the plan, I will point out those areas to you where it's important to make sure that we have the correct role being used so that you can access what you need to. So as we get started, when the district starts, opens up, either that district user or the superintendent has to start the plan before the site plans can be accessed to be able to be filled out. So the district plan has to be opened, and the first thing that that district user or superintendent will see are 3 questions on the screen, and it's basically asking, were all of your previous plans approved? All of our districts should be able to answer yes to this first question. There are not any plans that we have not previously approved. The second question is, did 100% of your students meet RSA criteria? And that's according to the OSTP. For this question, everyone will need to answer no for the 2020-21 school year because we did not take the OSTP. So we do not have 100% of our students that have met that RSA criteria. So everyone should be answering no for the second question. The third question is asking if any of your elementary school sites are being served as CSI, Comprehensive School Improvement, or TSI, Targeted School Improvement, through the Office of School Support this year. Okay? And you will need to answer according to what's going on in your district. So let's take a moment and look at the reading plan together. I am on a test mode, so even though you see district names, what we have entered is not real data. So don't panic there. If you come in as a district or superintendent user, you will see these initial 3 questions, which I've already put in some answers to. So again, all of our sites plans have been previously approved. I can't think of any district in the state that could not answer yes to that question. 100% of students meet the RSA criteria on the OSTP. Again, we did not take that test, so all districts will answer no to this question. And are your elementary sites exempt from the TSI or CSI through the school support office? Exempt means that you are not receiving services from that school support office. So if I do not have any sites designated as TSI or CSI, I'm going to answer yes, we are exempt from those services. If I do have elementary sites, I will answer no, we are not exempt and we are receiving services through that office. So we will there save, and hopefully it will take me to that. And sometimes our information times out a bit. So let me try. Back to this. There we are in test again. Okay. So the one thing it did not let me show you, since I had previously opened this up, after you answer those questions, the first question you are going to get is, do you want to copy over last year's data? The answer is yes. You want to save yourself a lot of time and trouble by copying over last year's data. Now, if you did not fill out a reading plan last year, either you were exempt, we had about 14 districts across the state last year that were exempt, or you are a brand new school, new site code that's opened up, you won't have previous data to fill in. So you'll just get that message and you'll have to hand enter. You only get asked that question once. So if you accidentally hit no, we cannot reset that for you. So you want to hit yes, copy my data, and save yourself quite a bit of time. So once you answer that question of yes, I want to copy my data, you'll hit this select button. You get this opportunity to submit, and here is our district plan. Now, again, our roles of superintendent and district user are the only ones that can see this tab. So if superintendents, if you have a principal that are saying, I can't access the district plan, they don't have access to this. So make sure that those 2 roles, somebody with one of those 2 roles is able to fill this out. Now you'll see that there are some things here in red, which means it needs attention. And even though there are some things in green, I would make sure that I open this up and that the information is still current, because if this rolls over your data, but it's no longer accurate, you want to make sure that you have that opportunity to fix that. So coming in on the district's timeline, the first thing you'll see that there's a place to enter a whole bunch of dates. These are the things that we are going to be doing to ensure that we are meeting the requirements of the Reading Sufficiency Act for this year. There are 3 preloaded dates. These are due dates for our state reports that are set by the state. So those have already been filled in for you. The things that we are looking for is just making sure that this is a reasonable time frame. We're not really checking if the difference is between September 15th and September 16th, but we're just looking for a reasonable time frame. For example, if the superintendent is certifying the data for the beginning of the year report, and this is a November date, but the report is due October 1st, that's a red flag, and we'll be giving you a call for that one, okay? So I'm going to just cancel this. If I try to update, it's gonna give me, I need to fill in all of those things. So see, it's still red because I still need attention here. Under the Reading Sufficiency Funds, I have just filled in some data here. You are going to fill in who is the best person to contact if there are any questions at the district plan level that need to be answered as we are reviewing this. It could be the district superintendent, it could be the elementary principal, it could be the reading specialist, whoever it is that is knowledgeable about where the district is going with reading sufficiency, and focus primarily on how funds will be expended. We have several districts that have put in the chief financial officer or financial secretary, but yet when we come and ask questions, they really don't know what or why something is happening. So be thinking through who would be able to answer those types of questions, okay? Making sure we have that contact information for that person, and then to know how will those funds be expended. Are we going to do things like tutoring services, paying for a reading specialist, purchasing specific curriculum that is designed for K-3 reading? Are we going to be sending people to professional development? There will be a place to expand upon this later. So that's sufficient for now, just to be able to say we are focusing on our professional development, and that will be defined later in the site plan. Summer Reading Academy programs. This is one of those things that, as the line item was taken out a few years ago, it is recommended but not required. If you are spending RSA funds on the Summer Academy reading program, it is important that you are following the defined rules for that. There is a defined time. It must be 4 weeks, 4 days of those 4 days for 4 weeks with, I believe, 3 hours of instruction for each day, and who is able to attend as well as teach at a Summer Academy reading program. So make sure you're checking those administrative rules. However, if that's not how you're choosing to spend funds, this is something that you're able to do, you can just put not applicable. You're either not doing a summer school or you're not doing summer school with Reading Sufficiency Act funds. You might be doing it through another funding source. So I'll save that. Then we can come down here and check to all statuses, and now I can access our site plans. Again, remember our site users and principals, when they log in, just go straight to the site plan tab. They don't have access to the district plan overview. So I'm going to select that, and I am now on my site plan. So this is where my principal or a school user might be filling this information in. You'll notice that there are some green places where I have already filled in some information for us to talk about. And there's also some red areas where we know that there's some information that is missing. But just because it's green doesn't always mean it's correct or current. So we still want to check each one of these. So the first thing is our leadership team. Our leadership team is the one that is working together to ensure that our literacy program is where we want it to be, and it's helping to move our students forward. Things that we are looking for, because we do read every section of every one of these plans, as I'm sure many of you are aware. And when we see something that's just not sitting right, we will give you a call or an email and ask you to kind of work on that, not just to change it on paper, but really that's what's going to help you move your school forward. So we would be looking for things like, is there an administrator involved on this team? Because we know that our administrators as instructional leaders are the ones that are making those purchases, that are checking to ensure that things are happening in the classrooms the way you want your school to go. So it's very important to be a part of this process as well. If you have a reading coach or a reading specialist, it would make sense that that position would be on this team. We are also looking for a couple of teachers to be on this team, not just a third grade teacher, because remember that Reading Sufficiency is really focused on K-2 education, and that third grade is really that final leg of the marathon that we're looking at. So if we're only seeing a third grade teacher on this team, we will be asking you to put in another teacher from a lower grade, because there is a very important perspective there that needs to be considered. The other thing that we strongly recommend is to have a parent. Now, I know that sometimes I've had some superintendents say that just is not possible. We get that, it's not required, but it is strongly recommended. Again, there's a very important perspective there. And that parent can be sometimes your best friend in trying to get your community behind, especially in this day and age with having to have so much more increased communication between school and home. That parent can really help other parents understand why certain decisions are being made. Okay? We're not looking for a list of 20 people to be on this team, but we would like a well-rounded group. So the calls that we make would be things like if we only see a third grade teacher involved, or if we only see the administrative team, like a principal and the reading coach, and those are the only two people on the team, that's not getting that buy-in and that perspective from other members that really are important to make this work. So you'll indicate how often your reading leadership team will meet, if it's going to be twice a year, if it's going to be monthly, if your scores are really not where you want them to be, and you need to see if maybe we're looking at revamping our intervention system, and we need to meet a little more often to see what would be the best interventions to purchase, or a way to restructure how students are meeting, and we need to think through that process. This would be your team you'd want to pull in, and they may need to meet a little more often. Right. So, and one other thing with this leadership team, you'll notice that there is a place when I add someone, I can see if they are the site primary contact. Again, this is the person that we are going to contact if we see any problems with the site plan. It might be the principal, it might be the assistant principal, a reading coach, a lead teacher, but somebody who is knowledgeable, that can speak to any decisions that were made, and that we can say, hey, here's where we're seeing a problem, and is able to go back and fix that. Okay, assessment plan and goals. You will have each grade level here, and you are going to indicate which approved screening assessment will be used for that grade level. So I would just select, and you'll want to select for each grade level. These are the 7 assessments that have been approved. Nothing has changed on this approved list this year. So indicate which of those approved assessments you're using for your universal screening. For the dates of screening assessment, we have added a note to the plan as a reminder this year, because this is where we ended up making a lot of calls last year. We are looking for a window for both the beginning, middle, and end of year assessment windows. So putting, a lot of times we had districts that just put the September 5th through 15th date and left it at that because that was their next testing window. But we are meeting all 3 windows indicated in this bar. We are looking for some dates. Again, this is a district decision of what that date would be. I just happened to pick some as off the top of my head, so we could have something to look at. We would like something more than just the words beginning, middle, and end. We would like to know when these are happening so that we get an idea. The type of progress monitoring, again, it could be you're monitoring with your screener. Most of our screeners have monitoring capabilities, or you might be using something else. And if you select other, you'll just let us know what you're using for that frequent targeted monitoring for students who are receiving intervention. How often are you monitoring? Now, we realize that some students may be monitored more often, or some may be less often. But what is your goal that students at the minimum would be being monitored at this frequency? That I want to kind of have that red flag for most of your students. And then how are you going to use this data to drive your instruction? What are you going to do to look at your progress monitoring data to make sure that your students are making the progress that you want? Okay. We'll do that again for each grade level. We'll go back in and read each section of that. And then we'll come to our core reading program. Notice that was red because I haven't filled in my 3rd grade here yet. So for each of our grade levels, we will hit edit and we will select. These are the current state textbook committee approved core programs. If you are not using one of these core programs, you're either off cycle, you've adopted something different, or you are having to use older materials, you'll just select other. Okay. For now, I'll just hit the same one. Does it have an intervention program? Yes or no? And update. And then I can return to my previous page, and now I'm in the green. Professional development. What is the professional development you will be offering to your teachers? This does not necessarily have to come at a cost. We can have free professional development, that's fine. It doesn't have to be for all of your teachers, although it would be helpful if all of your teachers benefited in some way. So it might be sending a teacher team to a professional development opportunity and then they come back and present to the rest of your teachers, or you're focusing on a grade level for this year as you move forward. So for example, it could be that the reading specialist or lead teacher is going to, at a staff meeting, update on RSA procedures for the school. That is one form of professional development that would be very helpful for our teachers, because this is a little bit of a beast with a lot of details that tend to change. So keeping our teachers up to date on what really is the case or not. On this, another idea might be kindergarten teachers receive training on a curriculum that has just been purchased for them. So anytime we're giving any type of intervention or curriculum purchase, if there is a way to train our teachers on how to use that appropriately, that would be great. Just remember that the professional development should be focused on K-3 reading, just general information about how to teach or behavior management. That's a great professional development, but not an appropriate use for RSA funds. Okay, moving down, we are now at the reading block for minutes for Tier 1. Remember, Tier 1 is our core instruction that all students receive. This is considered our on-grade level instruction. All students by state statute are to receive a minimum of 90 minutes of core reading instruction that's on grade level for kindergarten through 3rd grade. Okay. So again, we would edit for kindergarten. I might have 90 minutes. We're given some selections. We know that some schools like to go over a little bit. I would be very leery about going over more than 2 hours for core reading instruction. You might, because again, we're having to have some additional time for intervention. But remember that that other time for math, science, social studies, the arts, PE, recess, those are all extremely important as well and have a direct correlation on reading ability. So we don't want to do so much core reading instruction that we can't get to those other content areas. But we do need to do a sufficient amount of time to be able to cover all of the components of reading. So thinking about the read alouds, the word play, phonemic awareness instruction, fluency practice, writing, spelling, all of those things have a direct impact on reading and is considered part of our core reading instructional time. Parent and guardian communication. There is a little box here that is very easy to forget. If you've copied your data over from last year, it's likely this box will be checked because we checked a lot of them last year. But if you're writing this for me, do not forget to check this box. This box is basically your assurance that you are providing written notification to parents and guardians within 30 days of the screening assessment if their student does not meet that grade level target. Now, that could be that your fall conference is scheduled at about that time to go over their student reading plan with them. That would be considered that written notification. If there is a really long time, if you're testing in middle August and you don't have your conferences until towards the end of October, then you probably need to send home a written notification of, at conferences, we will be discussing what we can do to help your student because they are not yet at grade level targets. And then what additional communication will you as a school be providing for your parents? So we are really not looking for 5 paragraphs here because we know that as a school you communicate with your families often. But specifically for those families that have students who are struggling with their initial early reading abilities, what would we be doing to help with them? So it might be something simple like saying we will meet with our parents during fall and spring conferences, and that parents will receive monthly suggestions and activities for helping their child read at home. It could be that we're sending regular updates on their data for progress monitoring. As a rule, as a general rule, what is it that as a school you will be doing to keep that door open, especially this year as we are relying so much on our families, especially if we move back into any type of distance learning situation? It's going to be really important. How do we help those kiddos that are already behind? And then finally, we have the intervention that's outside the 90-minute reading block. The first thing we do when we open up this page is we are scanning quickly to see, do we have kindergarten, first, second, and third grade all noticed? But do we have a tier 2 plan for all 4 grades? And do we have a tier 3 plan for all 4 grades? So I can tell you right now, I am missing the tier 2 plan for first, second, and third grade, and I'm missing the tier 3 plan for kindergarten. So I don't have enough here. So my initial call would be, we haven't completed all of the components. Even though on the main page this is green, it just meant that data was entered, but it doesn't say that it's complete there. So please be aware that's one of the things we're looking for. We must have a tier 2 for each grade level and a tier 3 plan for each grade level. Okay. So I can select this to edit, and you'll see where we can do this. I can do multiple grades on one intervention plan if that's appropriate. I'm going to say this is a tier 2 or tier 3 plan. And then what is it that I'm going to be doing? Notice right now this box is blank. And that's a problem, because that's one of the first things that we're going to be calling about, saying you haven't told us what you're doing. One of the most common things that we would see districts write in this box is small group instruction. Well, that's great, but the problem is small group instruction is a setting, it's a place. It does not tell us what we are doing to improve the abilities of those students. So this is one of the first things we'll call and say, please remove the small group instruction. I'm glad you're meeting in small groups, because that's probably where you're meeting most of these kids, but what are you doing there? And so it might be that I'm using activities from the Florida Center for Reading Research. And so this would be an intervention that would be appropriate for tier 2 to practice and provide supplemental instruction for those students that are just a few months behind their peers. This box, again, is very easy to miss, but we do check for it. It's an assurance that this intervention will be taking place outside of the core 90-minute reading block, okay, which is, again, required by law. The person who will be responsible for making sure that this intervention occurs, it could be the classroom teacher, which is very appropriate. It could be other support staff, and even other that I might even provide there. If I've got tutors that I have hired, that I'm able to have them there and that they are able to be there regularly. I would definitely consider that when we are providing intervention, that these are students that are already behind. Parent volunteers are not ideal for providing intervention. They are great for providing ongoing practice, but intervention implies instruction that requires some type of knowledge in what we're wanting students to be able to achieve. So thinking about that these are the people that you want to be able to be trained to understand what they're looking for and to be able to help those children fill in the gaps that they are missing. The frequency could be 3, 4, or 5 days a week. How often is this intervention going to be occurring for these students, and how long? In statute, it does not provide a minimum amount of time. It states for tier 2 that it would be the amount of time that is needed for that student. So we put just rounded to 15-minute increments. It would probably be closer to 15 to 30 minutes for most tier 2 interventions. Please keep in mind, what is it that the publisher of that intervention has recommended in order to be able to see success? If the publisher has said that this really requires 30, you really cannot squeeze that into a 15-minute block and hope to see the success that they have promised. So it's really important to focus in on when purchasing interventions, how does that fit into your schedule? And then if you're using computer-based program, how are you using the progress monitoring there? Florida Center for Reading Research is not a computer-based program. I'm just going to put NA. I'll save and return to that list. And then you'll see that that's right there. I've got this checked, and I can move forward from there. So you would continue filling that in. Okay. I'm going to return to my previous page. All of my sections now we've gone through are in green, which means that this is now lit up. So as a school user, a principal, anybody who has access to this is able to submit for confirmation. So I'm going to submit this for confirmation. Since this is going to my principal, I am in as a district user, not as a principal. So these are now grayed out. So principals, if you have 2 roles, one is a district user and one is a principal, if you fill this in as a district user, You won't be able to hit that confirm until you log out and log back in as a principal. As a principal, I will see this either light up as confirm or reject. And if everything is correct, I'm going to hit confirm. If I look through and said, oh my goodness, we forgot one of the interventions, or we have something here that's incorrect, we need to make an edit. You will hit reject, which opens it back up, and you or your designee can make that edit, and then you're able to submit and confirm. But this is where we get a lot of principals get very confused. We've submitted for confirmation, but you have to log back in and actually confirm before it's going to show up on the district plan. So as we come back over here to the district plan, this has been submitted, so you'll see the status. It's been submitted. It's awaiting confirmation. Once all of my sites say confirm, this button that says certify and submit will light up, and the superintendent will then be able to sign the assurance and certify, and then we are done, and we won't bother you anymore. So if that is really pretty much our reading plan. Come back over here. So as you are working through this, if you are encountering any problems that we can help you with, we are here to help you. We would be happy to help walk you through this. My name again is Melissa, as Director of Reading Sufficiency. Brenda Beamer Chapman is our Director of Social Studies, but is also quite familiar with the Reading Sufficiency Act and has looked through more plans than anyone can count, and is extremely knowledgeable about what we're looking for here. So she is always happy to help. Timmy Spangler, who many of you know that was our Director of Instructional Materials, has now moved to the Striving Readers Project, but is also still in her new role, absolutely willing to help with the reading plan and to ensure that we have things the way we need to. Deb Wade, who is our Director of Elementary ELA, also learning very quickly about RSA. If she doesn't know the answer, she can certainly come and find out, and we will make sure that you get the answer that you need. And then we have two coordinators in our office, Judy Cummings and Michelle Singleton, who are always, again, happy to help with any answers that you might need, or can at least find the answers for you. So please don't hesitate to contact us. And we will help in any way that we can. Please remember that you need to have this completed and certified by August 30th so that you are eligible for those funds. I cannot stress that enough. We want to make sure that everybody is able to get that, and it will benefit everyone across the state so that we can get your allocations out to you sooner. So everyone, please stay safe and enjoy your summer and your 4th of July, and we will be happy to help you in any way we can. Thank you.